James, I love the new album. Is off the chain, mate. I was not expecting it. It hit me full in the face like a punch from Mike Tyson. It's so good, man.
Sweet, thank you so much.
Seriously.
It's come easily. The songs have come easily.
Honestly?
Yeah.
Okay, is that because is it because the more honest they are, the easier they come?
Well, yeah, I think the more inspiration you have, the easier it is. You know,
Right.
I did a greatest hits last year. None of these songs are going on that greatest hits, so these are all bonus tracks in my life. But also lots is going on. My place in the world is changing. Last album about my dad,
Yep.
you know, and now I have to start thinking about looking after my parents more than they might have to look after me, more than they have looked after me. And my place has changed because I have children now, and I have to write and think about them instead of number one here. So it's just that my shift in place, and it's just been a ton of inspiration, you know, and the highs and lows of a life. You lose friends along the way, people have troubles along the way. There's been lots to write about.
Yeah, best friend ever. That's a song and a half, let me tell you. I was looking for my Monsters track on the album. There's like 4 or 5.
Yeah, there's a couple of miserable ones on there.
It's brilliant, James. Honestly, I love it. I love it.
You're sweet. Thank you.
Honestly. Anyway, look, let's get on to the book. The book is fantastic. The book is the leanest autobiography I've ever read. We've been having fun all morning, Vassos and I. We've been having a blunt stuff, haven't we?
Leanest sounds like there's not many pages.
Oh no, it's so fat free. It's a proper sized book, of course it is, but it's not page after page, it's paragraph after paragraph. You just stick a pin in, don't you, Vass?
Well, the thing is, James has got the stories and he really knows how to tell them.
So let's get on talking to the man himself about them. We're just going to play true or false with you.
I'm not going to do that. I can't do that.
Well, okay.
I deny everything.
Tough.
My lawyer told me to deny everything.
Don't care. Here we go. Okay, so, well, they were all outside. 2007, Les Deux was raging. Britney Spears, Nicole Richie, Paris Hilton, but out on the street, all hell broke loose. We scrambled into my cheap white Toyota hire car, the paparazzi in a frenzy. As I drove us out the parking lot, with the paps chasing behind on foot, camera flashes everywhere. The girl climbed out of the passenger seat. She straddled me. She shoved her tongue down my throat, and that's how I met Lindsay Lohan.
That would be stupid. You don't meet someone like that,
Go
do
on,
you?
Vassos.
I once slashed Ed Sheeran's face open with a sword and blamed Princess Beatrice, and the newspapers picked up on my lie, and Buckingham Palace called, asking me to put the record straight. But when I did, Ed phoned to say that if I told the truth again, he'd throw me off the tour.
Not Ed, it was his manager.
All right, okay, here we go with another one. You're Beautiful hit number 1 in America. The same day, Tom Cruise sent me flowers to wish me luck at the Grammys, and the record label handed me a cheque for £10 million that my dad subsequently lost.
So listen, it's called Loosely Based on a Made-Up Story. It's a memoir written by someone who has no memory. And actually the phrase really is, everyone has one book in them, don't they? I should have kept my book inside me.
No, come on. I don't know which bit. I think they're all true. I think all the stories are true. I think maybe the cheque was for £10 million or maybe £1 million or maybe 100 million. I think that's how you're playing with it.
So, I mean, you know, some things are in the papers anyway. You know, the sword slashing moments, been in the sun, and those moments outside Les Deux nightclub being chased by paparazzi. You can see the photos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have written this book any time. Why did you write it now? Why is it out now? It's when it comes to a memoir, or any book really, but specifically a memoir, it's not so much about writing the book and what's in it. It's about then having to talk about what you've written and why you wrote it.
Yeah.
And you're experiencing that right now. More friendly here than other places. You're quite nervous about the book coming out, aren't you?
Well, yeah, you know, I think now's a good time because most of this is doing, you know, the drug-addled haze of the noughties. 20 years ago now, and if I left it another 20 years, well, you wouldn't know who the hell I'd be irrelevant, and so would the likes of Jedward, who are also in the book. So, you know, we'd be out of the society's conversation. So maybe now's a good time.
But it's so, like I say, it's so lean, not because there's nothing in it, just because it's tight and bright. Whoever edited it, I presume you just wrote loads of stuff and then said, just get rid of anything that's irrelevant and just get on with the gold.
No, that's how I wrote it, actually. The
Really?
editor didn't really cut anything out at all.
So you wrote it like that?
Yeah, but you know, I work best with Twitter, where I just write so few words, and so that's why with this, even to expand it has been difficult. It's taken me 2 years to expand. And that's why it is lean and there's no kind of excess.
It is Twitter trained, actually. Now you've said that, that sort of speaks volumes. Give us some more, Vassos.
Carrie Fisher walked into my room one afternoon and asked me if I'd like to meet Elizabeth Taylor.
Come on.
You can't swear, but, you know, hell yes, I said.
Hell yeah. We kept 200 horses at Knightsbridge, riding them around the streets of London at 6 a.m. each morning, past nightclubs I'd fallen out of an hour before.
Yeah. You know, it was a great way of life.
When you have a number one in America, it's different. Because obviously, if you're successful in any lane, in any field, in any pool or whatever, you know, life can be sweet for a while and then you go back to who you are anyway. That's how it all works, isn't it? That's the paradise syndrome, etc., etc. But when you have a number one in America, it really does change. Life changes and is never the same again. What's the difference? How did it explode? How is it still? How is that one song getting to number one in America compared to everything?
Yeah, suddenly you feel a little bit hunted.
Yeah, which is incredible for you to say, having been a tank captain in the army. You're now being pursued with sort of snipers with different weapons.
Yeah, exactly. And just the struggle to have a private life in any way. Is, you know, because sometimes you just want to stay out late and not be seen. You don't want your parents to see, and suddenly it's splattered all over newspapers.
And there's two ways you can do that. One is by actively, surreptitiously trying to strategically sort that out, being, you know, secretive or backdoor here, backdoor there, whatever. Or you can just, in plain sight, just go for it and
yeah,
you know.
And I'm a normal human being, and I want to be treated normally. So it was strange
you went
to be
for the latter, really.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's just it was a difficult balance. That said, I've had and still have an amazing time. You know, that's one minor downside. The benefit is those nightclubs I'm talking about. I was being swept up to the front of the queue and walked in a way. You know, that's why I got into the music business in the first place, just to get into the nightclub in the first place. And I was having an incredible time. It's given me an amazing life of touring the world. And you know, and I've got my feet on the ground, and I've managed to meet an amazing person at the end of it, and as I say, hold a sense of normality.
Yeah, we'll talk about the album and how that pertains to your life now, because it's such an interesting album. I mean, it's all of your heart on all of your sleeve. It is fantastic, James. Honestly, congratulations.
You're so kind.
It's so cool. When you're invited on Oprah in the States, you know, and other things happen in North America, what's that like?
Well, amazing. We'd done a show down in Brixton, the Brixton Academy, and then she sent over a jet to whiz me over to go onto her show.
An actual jet from Oprah.
Yeah, exactly. And then you know, I thought I'll play the hit. We played "You're Beautiful," and then you know, you only get one song. That's fine, but I've flown a long way. So then I turned to the audience and said, "Hey, can I play another?" And she obviously didn't want me to play another, but the audience all shouted yes. So I got to play "Goodbye, My Lover" as well, and you know, the audience all cried, and that was the moment. And then the album really took off in America.
And what happens for the next 6 to 12 months then as a result of that? I mean, is an appearance on Oprah, is smashing on Oprah, is it as much of a catalyst as we think it is?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the albums are selling through the door, and then literally I'll be in 3 cities every day.
Right.
3 cities in every day. So you're taking, you know, 2 flights a day, and you're just moving between radio stations, and that's kind of a 6-month period. And then the tour went on for 2.5 years.
Wow.
So, you know, absolutely amazing experience.
And you say your feet are on the ground now. Were they always on the ground? Was there a bit of levitation going on? Can you remember that? Did you sense it at the time? had the greatest hits, which gives you a bit of breathing space. That can go either way. You mentioned the name Atlantic Records there. I was sent this watermarked sort of secret encoded version of your album from Atlantic Records. You're still with them. You've signed a new deal with them.
Yeah, I've been forever. I love them as a record label. They've looked after me incredibly well, which is rare for an artist to talk about their label with such love. They've looked after me. And then, they put me in a studio every 3 years and say, come on, James, come up with an album.
Right.
And sometimes I don't have much to say. And so, I'm scraping around for ideas. This time I've just had a ton of stuff to write about. And the inspiration has been there. And so the album has really got a lot. It's coming from me, and it's not for the label. It's not for an audience.
Yeah.
They're songs for me and my family and those people I know. The song that I wanted to write for Carrie Fisher since she died in 2016, I've at last written it. That's the one you mentioned before, called Dark Thought. And there's just been a ton of things to write about, and I feel released from a greatest hits.
Isn't that interesting?
Suddenly I've found I'm writing songs for me, and those are the honest songs, and those are the songs that you'll get as well, because you'll know they're real.
I've got to talk about the album a bit because we've sort of slipped onto that subject now. We'll talk about it more later. There's so many different aspects of the album. There's so many relationships that it speaks to, and it's like a bit like a murder mystery. I'm guessing, who's that about? Is that now, or is that the ex whose wedding you're invited to? Did that happen last Tuesday? Is that song been on hold for ages? How does that go down at home? And then here's a question for you, James Blunt. Right? There's one track begins with footsteps. When does an artist, and it's happened before, Wham did it on Club Tropicana, Roxy Music used to do it on every other track. When does an artist decide to put footsteps on the beginning of a track?
Yeah, well, for me, it was the journey in Los Angeles where I went back to Carrie Fisher's house,
right,
to feel a little bit of her spirit and her soul at the house that I lived in with her. I lived there between 2002 and 2016 when she died, whenever I was writing and recording music. Then, she was gone and I couldn't stay there, and I was in a hotel where I used to put my band up, and I still remember the kind of stains on the floor in that hotel from various after parties. And then I thought I'd go back to her house, the kind of mad moment. And I drove up the hill, parked outside her gate, walked to the steps and put my hand on the gate and said, God, Carrie, I miss you so much, and shed a tear. And that's that song. And as it was, what then happened at that moment was that a Star Map tourist van full of tourists who they were showing tourists where various celebrities lived, pulled up outside her house, and on the tannoy the tour guide said, and on your left you can see the late great Carrie Fisher's house, and as you can see, some fans are still deeply moved by her passing. And that was me having my blub on the gate thinking, God, rod off.
I was a housemate, for heaven's sake. She's my best friend ever, which is in the song. Where'd you get the footsteps from?
Just a stock footstep.
Library footsteps.
Library footsteps.
I wonder if the same ones that Wham used. We've got to have a little, because there's a clunk on a door. They're on gravel though, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Different. James, great to see you, man.
So good to see you.
You are the best.
Yeah, such fun.
You are the best. You have a great family around you, both of musicians and the blood relatives, and your family now, your own family going forward. You seem to encourage, you have this gravity of goodness around you.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, but you do, though. I can say that about you. You can't say that about you, but I really can. The vibe around your orbit is awesome, mate.
Yeah, you know what I really believe? I've been very, very lucky. I've had this incredible experience, and there are bits along the way, but I'm in the most amazing position where I walk down the street and people say hi in a lovely way, which they do with you. Yeah. And it just means it opens you up. There's life is pretty good like this.
Life is great, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is so sweet, so sweet. All right, get back in your box.
Go on then.
Adrian says a couple of CarFests ago, you asked James to play Monsters. I lost my dad to COVID and hadn't come to terms with it. That song that evening, I cried my heart out in Jodie Scheckter's Field. My best mate held me tight and I was able to move on. It means so much. James, we get a lot of texts, when you come and perform, when we just play your songs on the radio, that are really important, And I know that you wear things lightly on your sleeve because that's the way you sort of cope with this thing called fame and all that stuff. But you are more than aware of the power that music has, and your music has in particular. When you hear me read a text like that, which I can barely get through, to be honest, how does it make you feel?
I mean, it's the greatest reward, really, as a musician. I write songs about my own life experience, and then someone will send a message through you or to me and about how the song relates to them and their experience, and often it's much more moving in many ways, their story. And for me, that's the kind of magic of music in the first place, where, you know, our politicians try and divide us, where the world seems so divisive online. Music is at least a great medium to bring people together and say, no, you and I, we are the same, no matter where we're from in the world. We do, as humans, feel the same thing, and that there's a magic in that.
Yeah, you know, let food be thy medicine. Somebody said once in Greece many thousands of years ago, but let music be thy medicine, let life be thy medicine.
Exactly.
Vicky Kreml comes at the same subject from a completely different direction, which is what we love. I've always loved James Blunt, but after the birth of my first son 18 years ago, he saved my sanity. George was one hell of a grumpy newborn, but once I found out that JB singing Beautiful was the only thing that would stop his tears and send him to sleep, I was his number one fan.
Sweet. I find the best way of dealing with children is just to have earplugs. And, you know, that solves it.
Every time I meet you, and I've been lucky enough to be in your company, James, you do have this lightness about you. But your album, this album especially, couldn't be any deeper. I mean, obviously music is therapy, of course it is. It's an outlet. It's enables us who can't make music to be cared for by it, if you like. So that's a clumsy phrase, but you know, music is what feelings sound like, I suppose. We get to have the benefit of that. You have the same experience, but from being the source of it all. This is a heavy album, man. You know, it doesn't sound heavy, but it really is. If you listen to the lyrics, is that how come you are able to seemingly float around the real world?
I think definitely it is. It's the therapy I need.
Yeah.
Writing a song, it's the cathartic nature of writing music. Is it gets it all out, and it means that then I can skip down the street with a little, with a lightness on my shoulders. Exactly that.
And does it feel like you're empty? You've emptied yourself?
Well, I mean, in many ways, definitely. When I stand on stage and share it with people, very much. You know, you come off stage slightly knackered from exposing your emotions quite so heavily.
From another therapy session.
Yeah, exactly. I do a ton of interviews. I never have to pay out on therapists. I do interviews.
And the thing about, you know, the different subjects here, I checked with you off air. I hope I can say this now.
Of course.
You know, I said, everything's all right at home, isn't it, James? And you said, no, it's fine. I know what you're going to say, because there's lots of songs on there about what sound like other people and, you know, other places and other times. And he said, no, but it's all great. And I have balanced it with songs about my wife, reassuring her that she is everything to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, you hear it one way. I hear the album, often half of it at least, as a great celebration. You know, I'm the guy who wrote You're Beautiful, about seeing someone, and I went home. And that was a second in time, really, of my life. And I went home and I wrote a song called You're Beautiful. I've met a person who I will hopefully be with for the rest of my life. I need to make bigger statements to that person, celebrate that. And you can't just say, oh, it's great to be with you for the rest of my life. That doesn't quite cut it. Can't use the words You're Beautiful again. Done and dusted.
You're beautiful too.
You know, so on this, there's other songs. What can you think of? The song called Beside You is, you know, I heard there's a song that God only knows, and it's keeping me dancing beside you. Nobody here knows how the melody goes, but it's keeping me dancing beside you. Or songs like All the Love That I Ever Needed, I got it from you. You know, you can't say anything more clearly.
So the songs there's one there about somebody else who, I presume maybe it's not you, you receive it, and somebody receives an invite from someone from their past about the fact they're getting married, and there's lamentation in the fact that, you know, it could have been me, it wasn't me, it's now somebody else. That you have a boyfriend I didn't even know existed, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm at that age, Chris, where, you know, my generation, kind of getting married now, kind of having young families now, and I have mates who, you know, their first loves, they might have missed that boat now. They've got to either jump on that ship or else that ship is sailing.
Yeah.
And, you know, their first loves are getting married now. So a lot of my mates are saying, oh God, what happens to me? And, you know, and so that's often what I'll write about too, is about watching the experiences. I've got a song called I Won't Die With You, and it's, you know, a mate of mine, he's just of a certain age where he thinks that life is over and he hasn't got a fire for life, and I'm asking, come on, where's the fire inside? You know, now's all gravy. We know where we are, we know who we're with, we know what jobs we're going to have in life. Now's the bonus years, and let's enjoy it. So it's just, this is an adult album, I suppose, about grown-ups rather than You know, the questions we had as teenagers of who we were going to meet, what we were going to do, and where life was going to take us. This is okay. Come on, we're in the moment now.
And you talk about, your love for your dad in Monsters, and now you're talking about the love of friends, both past and present, and the love of your partner, and as a dad, the Beatles said, "All you need is love." Is it? Is it all about love?
Yeah, come on. Of course it is.
Yeah.
And a healthy drink beside you as well.
Love is truth.
My wife wakes up with a shot of tequila beside the bed every morning because for her, that love is tested because she wakes up with me every day.
And there's also, they say you are what you consume. There's that phrase in the "you are what you eat." But if you just take eat as consumption, I've been thinking about this a lot recently. You consume hate, you become hate. You consume wellness, you become well. You consume love, you become love. You consume Ibiza, you become Ibiza. There's this low-level Ibiza rhythm to a lot of the album that's going on.
Yeah, Ibiza's definitely rubbing off on me in different ways. I was recording in a studio throughout the summer, and been a studio that David Guetta using him in the next door studio, and maybe I was just stealing the beat that was coming through the wall. And having a couple of up-tempo songs on there, but they're the celebrations of of where I'm at.
How happy are you with this album?
I'm super thrilled. It's been so amazing to have a greatest hits. I never expected I'd ever reach that moment in my life. That's proper musicians do that kind of thing. But then to be signed up for a new record deal and be released, and to be able to write songs, for me again, and not worry about an audience, not have them in the room, has been a great release, and you can hear that.